There was this TV show called The Tiny Chef, which was primarily made for children and it aired on Nickelodeon. The show had 2 or 3 seasons until Nickelodeon decided to give a call to the Tiny Chef and let him know that his TV show has been cancelled. And this poor man, this poor tiny man, I can't talk about this. I'm gonna be so upset in this video. This poor tiny man just starts crying and he's cleaning his room. And he's crying at the same time. And I'm crying watching this. And at this point, I have no idea who the Tiny Chef is. I do know that we have one enemy in common. And that is Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon, you have one thing to do. And that is to give the man his TV show back. I'm gonna do what I can do in this video. And that is to give hype to the Tiny Chef. I have watched 2 entire seasons. And I'm gonna be making the Tiny Chef's recipes with my Tiny Chef sized utensils. This is Tiny Chef's recipe for a quesadilla. This would be the size of a quesadilla for the Tiny Chef, I think. I got these yellow corn tortillas. First of all, they're vegan because the Tiny Chef is vegan. Low-key important lore. By the way, this is a miniature like baking bowl with the measuring spoons proportionally sized. This is so cute. So the Tiny Chef starts by making tiny holes on a tortilla. Because we're already using a smaller tortilla, I'm just gonna make one and I'm just gonna trust that this is gonna work. So using my miniature knife, we are going to cut around it. These tiny knives, low-key cutting very sharp. I'm gonna try to do it smoother. Imagine if I'm cutting the non-stick mat. Quesadilla size reveal. Everything tiny is super fragile, so you have to be so careful. You know what? I'm happy with this. Could we have trimmed up the edges? Would Tiny Chef do it? Absolutely. This was Hurricane Katrina for Tiny Chef. Then he also reveals that the mystery ingredient is tomato salsa. There's always a mystery ingredient in every episode. Then we move on to the other ingredients that we need. So one of them is cheese. So he uses a block of this. Let's maybe go like this. The fact that this miniature stuff is actually functional is always shocking to me. It's such a small scale, so your coordination levels are entirely different. Oh my god, wait. So if we press this together, this is going to be my miniature block of cheese. The good thing is dairy-free cheese already moves like a block. I am going to put some oil on this tiny bowl. Everything looks giant next to this. So here goes our oil. I'm sure this is vegan. Canola is a vegetable. Ratatouille preheating the oven. Let's add the oil. So this is to make sure our quesadilla is not going to burn. I don't know what this is, but they gave it to me, so I'm gonna use this. Wait, is this too much oil? This is too much oil. Okay, I'm gonna move my stove to the center so you guys see. If I get too close to the flame, this is just gonna put out the fire. So we're working with prehistorical technology here. Then I'm gonna put our tortilla on here and back on the flame. And then we're supposed to grate some cheese. At first, I gotta make sure this is toasty on this side. Let me just use my spatula to double check this is not sticking. And on this plate, I am going to grate some cheese. Now, how do you grate cheese in this tiny world? Let's do it from the corner. Does this look like... Oh my god, it looks exactly like cheese in the Little Chef world. It's exactly the same. So I'm using the tiniest holes of the cheese grater for this. Actually perfect. I don't even know if the camera is doing justice to how perfect this is. It is. How much cheese do you use in a quesadilla? I don't know. Oh my god, this is falling apart. When something is so tiny, it melts so quick. Oh my god, this is kind of perfect. I have to clean this, because if I put the stove back in here, this is all going to melt. A black hole for Tiny Chef. So the Tiny Chef adds the cheese in the center of the tortilla first. So I think this will be the right amount. On the TV show, they do a good job at showing the steps of everything. It's pretty high budget. There's a camera angle for everything. So this is the amount of cheese that we got on it. And now using the flame, I'm going to try and melt the cheese. If there was a lid, this would melt a lot quicker, but there is no lid. Or is there? This is so much better because now... Okay, the lid doesn't fit, but it will help melt the cheese. So if this goes according... Wait, what if we just did this? That would have been so smart. We've just upgraded to the highest technology. This will help cook this a little bit more even. I think this will work. I want to check, but I also don't want to check yet. I am going to try to use the heat from this to melt the cheese. I don't know if you can see, but the cheese is going melty. If by the time I post this video, the tiny chef doesn't have his TV show back, I'm gonna be so mad. So next up, the tiny chef folds this into a quesadilla. Is it possible? Not only is possible, but he worked out perfectly. I don't want to press too much because this will break. Okay, so the tiny chef does just a little bit more cheese directly on top of the quesadilla. So let's see if this... Why is he going everywhere except on top of the quesadilla, you know? Okay. This looks good. It looks like miniature chipotle, you know? It's so cute. Now we gotta melt the cheese on top. There's no other way to do it. You know the drill. The thing with cooking tiny things is it's a lot quicker. You close your eyes and it's gone. Just a little bit of color, you know? I think this is perfect. Okay, so we're going to move on to making the salsa now. On the show, the tiny chef struggles to open the can of salsa, and then they decide to move on to making their own. So I'm gonna make my own as well, and I'm gonna follow the same steps. So on the show, they start with the onion. He has to be so thin, I can't even get it in first place. Maybe I'll go around? Wait a second, maybe I'm onto something here. This is me dicing up the onion. It does cut, which is surprising. This is as tiny as I can go. One thing I love about the show is they use real foods. It's not like pretend foods, it's the real foods. It's actually very difficult for them to handle the textures in such a close-up camera. This is my job. Food, camera angles. I can see that they're struggling with certain things. You know what? I'm gonna say this is enough. So this is where all our vegetables are gonna go for the salsa. The worst part is one bite of this and it's gone. Next up, they use a pepper, which I don't know what kind of pepper they use. I'm destroying my knife. The handle is melting. This is not gonna last the whole video. This is the most difficult task so far. It just will not cut. Now we gotta cut these into tiny pieces. It just will not get smaller because it's already so small. And this goes into the salsa box. This is the size of a regular tomato in this world, just so you have an idea what we're working with. This is a knife and a tomato. So let's see. Okay, this one is really easy to cut because it's so juicy. And onto the salsa bowl. Looks good so far. Pasta is already so small. The tiny chef just uses his hands to like basically break it. So we're gonna cut this very tiny. So that is, I think, all the ingredients. This is what it looks like with all the chopped up stuff. Now for the next part, they actually use garlic for the tomato salsa, which makes sense. They use a garlic crusher. So nothing is tiny, it's just a regular sized garlic crusher, but it looks ridiculous. If you look at the image on the TV show, that's not adding up. Onto here, I'm gonna crush it directly. Why is it not working? I thought this was gonna add a lot more juiciness, but I guess not. Using my knife, we're gonna get all the garlic. And then they blend this, which if you're asking me how we're gonna blend this, I have no idea. They blend this using like a robot arm, so I'm gonna try blend this better. And somehow it becomes smooth like ketchup, which is impossible with a tiny whisk. I'm gonna put all the ingredients in here, and I'm gonna try and blend this. So I'm gonna add this onto the bowl. That looks more like salsa, but it's also obvious that on the TV show they use ketchup for this, for the presentation. So I'm gonna add a little bit of ketchup. We're going to combine everything. Okay, that looks a lot more like what they had. There we go. This is the tiny chef salsa recipe, which actually smells and looks great. The only step left is presentation. The first thing we're gonna do for the presentation is obviously cutting our quesadilla. I think it looks pretty good. Oh my god, look what I just realized. Look at the bottom of this pan. If you guys don't see me again, you know what it was. The metals of that on my bloodstream. So they cut it into 4. So let's go. Oh my god, this is gonna be the most difficult part. Why is it falling apart? Okay, never mind. False alarm. Oh my god, this is surprisingly holding pretty well. It looks like slices of pizza. I'm just gonna move on to presenting it the same way they've done. So this is gonna be my little container for the salsa. Guys, I don't know what to... Let's do this one on here. And then kind of stack them slightly. Not to defend myself, but obviously I'm not a miniature person, so this is way more difficult. Why am I having beef with miniature characters? And I'm gonna put it onto here. That is... Oh my god, this is so... Wait, that's too much. Starting to look a little more like it. I wish I had a knife and fork to eat it with. That is our tiny chef quesadilla. I followed a quesadilla recipe in proportion, but also ingredients-wise, composition-wise, method-wise, the same as the tiny chef. So look at this. This is what we created. It looks really similar. I have the image right next to me and I'm looking at it and I think it looks similar. The only thing is I think my tortillas are slightly more yellow. That is it. What do we do now? This is like making a stop motion movie. You spend all these hours on it and then you eat it in 1.5 seconds. I've never had a vegan quesadilla, so let's dip it. That's what they do as well in our homemade salsa. One bite. It tastes like oh, it's spicy. I think the proportion of peppers, because everything's so tiny, it's nice though. I love it. This tastes so delicious that I would recommend you to do this with real size proportions. You know, you don't have to cut it as small as I did. The tiny chef is cooking, for sure. This is the tiny chef's recipe for bread. So the first thing is the tiny chef tells us all the ingredients that we need. So it's going to be some oil. This is bread flour, which we might need a lot of, and I also made a mess. Something kind of funny happens, which is they add too much active dry yeast, and then it starts growing and growing and growing. Hopefully that doesn't happen to us. This is me portioning out the yeast. Oh my god, it looks massive! Okay, so I'm going to activate our active dry yeast. And now I'm gonna mix it. If I seem stressed in this video, I am. This is simultaneously a blessing in my life. I'm so glad this happened to me. But at the same time, making miniature things is not for the weak. Pretty good, I think it worked. It's well dissolved. To here, I'm going to add the flour. We're gonna have to guess how much flour goes into our dough. And then the last ingredient, I believe, is the oil. So pretty similar to what the tiny chef was doing. So this is what it looks like so far. So I'm gonna mix it and see. I think it's too much yeast for the amount of flour. Like, it's so much yeast, this is great. 15 grains of salt is so funny because it makes sense because everything's tiny, you know. So this is me adding 1, 2, 3. You know what? That's 15. Is it giving bread though? Let's see. The only thing is, how is this going to bake? I'm so confused. So what the tiny chef does next is kneading the dough. So I'm going to use some of the oil. This is going to be so difficult. How is this my life, you know? Okay, so let's see. Oh my god, it's going to stick to everything. I got water now. Okay, that's better. I'm trying to pull and then bring to the center, kind of like fold the dough. Hey, it is kind of working. It's getting stronger. My method is working. So this is really funny because the tiny chef, when he starts kneading the dough, his hands are made of fabric. There's tiny little hairs all over the dough. I love that they kept that as well. This TV show needs to come back. I'm going to terrorize Nickelodeon. This is the most annoyed I've been in Nickelodeon, and I've lost the Kids' Choice Award, so that should tell you everything. For this next part, the tiny chef actually just leaves the bread on the counter to rise, transfer it back to the bowl, so that I get some structure on there. And I'm going to cover this. We're just gonna leave it like this so that it can rise still. Because obviously it's really difficult to find something that is the size of a miniature loaf of bread. Because even though, for example, this is small, but not that small. I'm trying to make this as proportional to the TV show as possible. I've built a tiny miniature baking tray. Just imagine us with our oven mitts and carry this. I wonder if my method to brushing parchment paper works. Let's find out. No, it doesn't. And now I'm gonna do little cuts. I have no idea if this is gonna work. I feel like I'm doing origami. Okay, it is really cute. It looks like you're gonna make banana bread, but tiny, which is essentially what we are doing. This actually will work. Like, I'm pretty certain. Oh my god. Nothing will stick, at least. Let me cover my spoon in oil. We're going to try and transfer our bread dough. Everything's so slippery now. It is kind of working. I don't know if we need all this dough, but it's so sticky. Look, I can't even break it now. It seems like it might work, so I didn't use all of it. I'm gonna say 20 more minutes for this to set so that it puffs up a little bit more. I'm gonna use my oven mitts to move this. Oh my god, this makes it so difficult. This is a terrible idea. I am definitely not using these. I don't know if you can see, but it's growing maybe a little bit too much. It's probably gonna go even bigger. because it's not even golden yet. I'm gonna say this is ready because there's some color going on top. Oh my god. This looks so ridiculous. I cannot believe this actually worked. I'm about to lose my mind. I don't know if it's fully cooked, but I think it might have just worked out. Look, nothing stuck to it. It just looks right. So I'm gonna let this cool down for a second before we slice into it. It looks like bread, and it looks like the tiny chef made it. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to use my serrated knife for this because there's no way that if I use this tiny knife, this is going to compress the whole bread. I'm being way too ambitious here. Oh my god, please don't fall apart. We actually managed to do it. So the final presentation is literally just sliced. So I'm gonna try to slice a couple more. Look. I don't even know how to do it. Even with a real knife. Because it's so soft. Okay, wait, this one was better. This is the texture on the inside. I mean, this is hilarious because it is a miniature slice of bread. I could have just gone to Olive Garden and gotten an Olive Garden breadstick would be enough. I'm surprised that the recipes work because this is the texture of bread. Like the actual texture, it's super soft. I'm going to say we were pretty successful at making Tiny Chef's bread. Keep in mind that the bread that they use is not real bread. It doesn't look exactly the same because this is not food prop from a TV show. Let's give it a try. Cheers. Or in lowercase, cheers. Pretty good. The only thing is it doesn't have enough salt. 15 grain was not enough. It's bread. It's soft in the center, crispy on the sides. One thing's for sure, the Tiny Chef's recipes do not disappoint. We're about to follow the Tiny Chef's recipe for pizza. The first thing they do is they kind of go over which ingredients you're going to need, and one of them is pizza dough. The crazy thing is, look at this entire package. Look how much I need for this. Like, that's literally it. I'm gonna get a corner of the vegan cheese. I think this will be the right amount, and we're gonna grate our cheese, which we now know that it works. Okay. Not me becoming actually good at making miniature food. Okay, this looks exactly like the cheese that they use. So this episode's mystery ingredient is basil. And this is also the chef's favorite ingredient. Like, he really goes crazy for basil. My basil is not even that fresh. Thank you, Walmart, for nothing. For the pizza sauce, there's no recipe, but they do show the pizza sauce being cooked. So we have to cook the pizza sauce beforehand. And for that, you already know what's coming. And using my miniature spoon, I am going to spoon the amount of sauce that I think I will need. Wait, do you hear this sizzling? It's actually cooking. Might be cooking a little bit too quick. People on Ozempic making bolognese sauce, they're like, that's good. This is cooking well because it's a lot shinier and more liquidy. They might have used the exact same brand because it looks pretty similar. So this is when the chef goes crazy. I'm gonna pretend like my fingers are the Tiny Chef's hands, you know? Because I have a miniature pizza roller, I'm going to use my miniature... Oh my god, it actually rolls! Wait. This is crazy. And make sure this is round. The Tiny Chef does stretch the pizza dough. It kind of goes like this. I would have to use like my pinky, and I'm eventually going to make a hole in the dough. This is me attempting to do it. There's no movement, so for me, this is the best way to use the roller. And then using my hand, I'm gonna try to stretch it. Look at this. That's pretty good. It's starting to look like real pizza, except miniature. I'm gonna use some non-stick spray on the bottom of the pizza, because otherwise you're not gonna be able to slide it out of the tray. I'm gonna press it to make sure we got those little edges. A real pizza. It's not as perfectly round as the Tiny Chef's, but I'm gonna say it's good enough. Next up, the chef adds the sauce. We're gonna do the same. Oh my god, it's so cute. I hope it buffs up around it. He shreds the cheese directly, but we've already pre-shredded it, so I think I'm going a little too crazy. This looks too good, actually. They immediately put this in the oven, which I'm going to just put it in the oven like this. Then we're gonna add the basil and the toppings after. I'm gonna guess this will take around 5 to 7 minutes at a pretty high temperature so that it puffs up. The hardest thing is literally putting this in the oven with my miniature. Oh my god, no. First of all, let me open the oven. Oh my god. Oh my god, this is so scary. Here was nothing. It's been around 5 minutes. I'm gonna toast it up a little bit on we're gonna use the broil setting. How am I gonna get this out? Oh my god, this is so dangerous. Guys, this looks so ridiculous in my kitchen. Look at this. Oh my god. Oh my god, I am an idiot. Maybe the tiny chef should stay cancelled. Take number 2, and I don't want to talk about what happened, ever. Let's never talk about this. Here's our miniature pizza. That, by the way, it looks incredible. The only thing is, if I cook this any longer, the cheese is going to turn into a crisp, and it's not going to look the same. So instead, I am going to try and give it those crispy edges, like the tiny chef's one. Okay, it kind of works, but you have to be so gentle with this. This side looks perfect now. It smells like fresh pizza. Okay, you see, I kind of... Oh, that looked perfect. This literally changes so quick too. So you really have to be careful. It looks like a real pizza. It is crazy. Like, let me show you from this side, because I think it looks even better from this side. It smells so good that it's kind of ridiculous. The smell is not miniature, even though the food is. Smell is pretty real. I cannot cut this the same way, like in perfect squares. It's just not possible. Maybe actually. One wrong move, and I'm done here. So this is going to be our basil that we are going to place super strategically. I'm going to do the exact same the chef did. It looks exactly like a normal sized pizza, just super tiny. It's kind of ridiculous the amount of effort you put into making something that will be eaten in one bite. And his doesn't even use real food, so do you know how difficult it is to make this pizza? But this is it. We have made the tiny chef's pizza recipe with the perfectly crisped up edges and everything. Like, if I cut into this, the very last thing that the tiny chef does is obviously cutting the pizza, which this is my real sized pizza cutter versus this is crazy. Oh my god, it works. Oh my god. It actually works. This is so silly. I think I messed up the cutting. This is supposed to be 6 slices. One thing's for sure, it did look better before cutting. This one has a perfect crispy edge, so I want this one. Not the cheese being melty and everything. Guys, here is my miniature slice of pizza. Flop in the front. It's a real slice of pizza. The crust is not really crispy. And now you've got a crispy edge in the back as well. Cheers. This is the definition of could have been an email, because it tastes like that. And it's to never be found again. If the tiny chef was a whole setup to brainwash me into becoming vegan, it's working. Because this cashew cheese, it's saltier, cheesier than regular cheese, and it melts better. It works better in recipes. We're going to follow Tiny Chef's recipe for banana toast. So immediately it starts by showing us the banana toast. This is important because something goes wrong in the middle of this recipe and it ends up looking like a complete failure. And I think this is really interesting because the reason why it looks like a failure is because bananas are so big that they would not be able to make banana toast in a miniature form. Unless this is all CGI, and then I sound really stupid, but I really believe that the Tiny Chef is real. Is real. Peanut butter, sugar, the toast, which is, you know, the sliced bread that we made from earlier. And then we find out that the mystery ingredient is banana. At first they're not able to move the banana, like that seems to be what they're struggling with. And then there's a banana explosion and the banana essentially becomes mush. So I can literally throw this at the ceiling. I mean, I'm not going to, but I could, because that's what happens on the... You know what I'm gonna do instead? I'm gonna hit it with the frying pan. Like, this will be my banana explosion. And this seems silly, but there is a reason why we're doing this. I swear, this is so stupid. So the next step is to grab our bread and we're going to toast this. And mine is already kind of dry because it's been sliced for so long at this point, but I'm gonna toast it anyways. The Tiny Chef does have a toaster. I'm not entirely sure how I'm supposed to come up with a miniature toaster. This is my... Oh my god, this is so scary. This is me toasting bread in the miniature world. I don't want it to get burned, but I do want it to look like toast. And this is so crazy, but if I move too much... Oh my god, my bread got on fire. Why is it black? If I move too much, or if I speak too loud, the candle will blow out. Oh no. I'm also pretty certain oh my god, it's been dipped in the wax. And now it looks shiny. It will look incredible. We gotta change plans. I am going to line this on a tray. Look at this, man. We can fit all of them, essentially. I don't know if you can see, but wait a second, I'll help you see. Always thinking of you guys. I am going to use this to toast the bread. I didn't want to do it because I thought this would be more difficult, because as you can see, it toasts the bread pretty quick. Even on the TV show, the bread is not crazy dark. It's just slightly golden, so this already kind of looks like it, but I'm gonna do a little bit more. Okay, I think this is pretty good. It's not a huge difference. Next up, the tiny chef uses the peanut butter on the toast. And I just want you to see how ridiculous this is. This is the size of the peanut butter. This is the size of the knife that's getting the peanut butter. There's a mosquito here. A giant flying dinosaur for tiny chef. One of the hardest things is to anticipate the amounts of things. Like, how much do I add to butter a slice of toast? My toast just isn't... Let me get rid of the plate. My peanut butter isn't as shiny as the one from the tiny chef. Let's do a couple more. We made this miniature bread, you know, like that was so crazy. We also find out, because of the banana explosion, we can no longer use the banana as it is. We're going to open our banana and we're going to scoop. You see how it's kind of like falling apart, kind of creamy? They essentially create a banana jam, so we're gonna do the same. All this banana, the creamiest, most falling apart pieces, and we're gonna put them on the tray. Using our miniature whisk, I'm gonna break this apart. Next up, they had water, so we're gonna add some water as well. No more, no less. Then I believe you also add sugar. This is ridiculous. Look at me trying to get this amount of sugar out of here. This is so silly. Oh my god, I'm just gonna... It's okay. I just gave Tiny Chef diabetes. And that's fine, because the medication will be so small. It's very inexpensive. It doesn't need Medicaid. 15 grains of salt. Very specific. This is how to make our Tiny Chef banana syrup. I will need my cooking contraption for this. So they cook it kind of until the water starts evaporating. Is this going to be possible? I'm not sure. And I'm going to combine this with a metal spoon because I think the plastic might potentially melt. So we just need this to somehow transform into a jam. Okay, this is starting to sizzle a little too aggressively, so let me... Oh my god, it's actually steaming. Do you see? It is evaporating exactly like it did on Tiny Chef's recipe. And it's becoming very, very smooth. This is great, actually. And our flame control is getting better and better, too. Only positives. Do you see this is kind of starting to unstick? I think that means that we're there. Okay, I can't actually place this on here, but I'll place this on here. I believe we've made jam. What I'm gonna do now is I am going to get this tiny little pot. I think they use a glass jar, but this is fine. And I'm gonna get spoonfuls of our jam. We actually made miniature jam. Pretty hot because of all the sugar and everything. So I gotta be careful here. Look at the texture. See how it's like shiny and caramelly? I am going to take some plastic wrap, the world's tiniest amount, and I'm going to wrap this. I'm gonna put this in the fridge until it cools down. I would say maybe like half an hour will be enough. I actually put my banana jam in the freezer to make it extra quick. I hope it's more of like a spreadable consistency, which I think it is. We made... Oh my god, no! It's okay. Okay, so I'm gonna plate it exactly the same way as they did. One of my favorite things about the Tiny Chef is that he has an amazing sense of humor. When he does his, he realizes that he doesn't look nothing like that first image we saw of the banana toast, and it looks kind of messy. And when he does that, he says, you know what, it will taste good. I don't know why, that just made me laugh so much, because if someone says, who would you want to play you on a biopic? I don't need a biopic. Watch the Tiny Chef and just imagine it in normal size proportions. That is my life story if you think about it. Let's hope this spreads. Oh my god, it does spread. I got too ambitious with this amount. But you get the idea. The Tiny Chef cuts this into 4, which I think it's honestly kind of psychotic. Never mind, it kind of works. One thing about the Tiny Chef, you never question the Tiny Chef. Oh my god, this is a mess. I just want to try it at this point. I want to see what this is all about. We've definitely successfully made these recipes. So here's my 1/4 of a banana toast. It's gonna taste like smelling a banana and a piece of bread. Wait, that's actually kind of an amazing combination, like banana, peanut butter. One thing I love about this show is the fact that you can actually do this. Even if you don't want to do it on a miniature form, which I understand, you don't want to waste ingredients, I get it. You can make this on a real form and actually use this in your everyday life. And that was it for today's video. And before you go, I just want to say something serious. We never go too serious, but I do want to say something serious for a second. We're joking in this entire video and we're making a lot of jokes, but the reality is, and this TV show is just an example, this applies to almost any creative piece of work. As a community, I think we really need to find ways to support the art that we consume. It's important that we value it, that we express how much it means to us, that we support it in whatever way. It's not always with money, but there are many ways you can support the art that you consume. And I think in a time of AI and ChatGPT and all of this, it's more important than ever. And it's not only because obviously this is very personal to me. I am an artist. That sounds kind of funny. We need to seriously stop and think about how can we appreciate art, value it, and at the same time kind of live in this AI world that we live in. Like, it is a reality as well. This is just my opinion, but I do think we need to. There are so many fields, like the medical field, for example, where I think this is going to be major in research and making breakthroughs that we were not able to make as quickly. And then in the creative world, I also think that can exist only if we still appreciate the artists and the people who are making things with their hands, with their cameras, with their paintbrushes, their watercolors, you know? I think now more than ever we have to appreciate that. There's a real possibility that we might lose it. This TV show is beautiful. It's so visually amazing. This is my career, you know? I do things with food and cameras and lights. It's my passion. So watching this, it's so amazing. Like, I really felt like a TV show like this hasn't even been given its flowers yet. And then it gets cancelled. You know, the rise of AI, the video generation capabilities. I don't know, this TV show being cancelled, the AI kind of explosion. Is there a relation here? You don't have to agree with me, and I'm also open to hearing your take on things, but that's just what I feel. I feel like we need to support the artists and then also make way for the ways the AI can help us. Like, this is possible, but no, without giving credit first, not without making sure that these TV shows are not going to be cancelled. Like, it's so annoying to find out about a TV show that actually looks amazing and it seemed like it was made for me, but then when you find out about it, it's because it's getting cancelled. Like, that is just great. So Nickelodeon, Netflix, anybody, give us 10 more seasons. You know what, 10 might not be enough. It was kind of a throwback making miniature foods, but I liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe, and switch the notifications on only if you like my videos. If you didn't like it, don't do any of it. But if you did, that means a lot to me, and it allows me to make more episodes to this series. I love you guys, I hope you had fun, and I will see you on my next video. Bye bye.